Many thanks for staying here on Joy News today. Now let's start with our very first story. Occupational hazard comes in varying forms, but what do you do when you get a dislocated shoulder as a result of a physical attack by a patient or get kicked in the abdomen after a cesarean session? Well, that's the situation nurses at the psychiatric hospital have to battle with daily. But the nurses say they've had enough and will not continue with work until the situation is addressed. Apart from the dangerous working environment, they also complain about shortage in basic medical supplies at the hospital. Joy News' Maxwell Agbagba has been to the Accra Psychiatric Hospital and reports.
Here at Accra Psychiatric Hospital, psychiatric nurses have embarked on a strike action. They are very careful not to call it a strike action. They say that it is a protest of what they describe as bad working conditions. So they are saying that they are staying away from unsafe working conditions, and that's what they want to call it, and they don't want to call it a strike action. I've been having interactions with some top members of the psychiatric nurses group.
We cannot come to work lacking basic logistics. This is giving us infection on day-to-day basis. We are being attacked by patients because there is no medication to control their aggression. And at the same time, we are also talking about our safety needs in general, then our conditions of what services. It states clearly that where a nurse may see that certain things may pose what danger, he or she must embark on what? On the safety principle. So we are only ensuring safety. As you are aware, I'm in uniform, but I'm not going to the ward just to get myself attacked.
You agree with me that, I mean, for every workplace, you have the occupational hazards that are present at every workplace, you know. So for your occupational hazards, we can talk about attacks from patients and all of that. Are you saying that, as it stands currently, you do not have any insurance or anything in place that would ensure that if you are attacked in your line of duty, hospital management would cater for you, take care of you, anything of that sort?
We've spoken to management and the mental health board and authority on the issue of risk allowances. They've made it clear to us that the risk allowance has been factored into the new Mental Health Act, but it's up to Parliament to come out with a legislative instrument, that is an LI, so all these factors will be in place. But as I speak to you, there is nothing like a risk allowance for psychiatric nurses, either in this hospital or any of the psychiatric hospitals and units across the country. We had a case somewhere last week, Wednesday, where a nurse who had undergone a previous CS, that is cesarean section, a patient had to kick the abdomen. So she realized she was bleeding at the site. Then there was a nurse who was also attacked by a new patient at the OPD. He dislocated his shoulder. It's unfortunate.
When was that?
That was last week, Thursday. It's unfortunate these nurses are
the patient, the nurse who also was attacked, who had a CS, who was attacked also, when was that?
She was attacked on Wednesday. As I speak to you, she was.
So Wednesday and Thursday, you had 2 attacks coming from some psychiatric patients.
They are currently receiving treatment at Ridge Hospital. Yeah, that is how the situation has got into. It's very unfortunate. It's very unfortunate we have to work without basic logistics. I mean, if you go to some hospitals here in Ghana, they are having these things in abundance. Psychiatric or mental health has been neglected for far too long. We are here appealing to the various or appropriate authority to come to our aid so we can mitigate this issue. It is not our wish to stay away from the ward. We have that sort of love and emotional demands which comes together with the nursing practice. We would love to be on the ward, so we are calling on the various authority to sit down with us as soon as possible for this whole issue to be dealt with.
Now, if you go to the outpatient department, if you go inside, a lot of the patients are a bit stranded. What we are picking up, an intelligence that we are picking up here, is that the doctors here are locked up in a meeting with the management of their facility. They're locked up in a meeting with the management of the Accra Psychiatric Hospital. And what we are picking up indicates is that indicates that they want to solidarize with the nurses, because as it stands right now, the outpatient department, they need the services of the nurses to be able to carry out effective prescriptions, effective checkups and all of that. Inside the outpatient department, I had interactions with a gentleman who came all the way from Kaswa. He's comfortable with me putting out his name, but let's hold on with that one. He said he came all the way from Kaswa, and we saw the patients that he came to the facility with. That patient has a very serious condition, and he tells me that the complication started sometime this dawn.
I was here before 6 o'clock. I came from far away, Kaswa, even a site at Kaswa. I set home very early as 3:30, and I got here exactly 6, and it is almost 10 o'clock. I did not see a doctor or a nurse to attend. None of a patient here. Why? Why are we living in a country like this? And I even regretted that I'm Ghanaian.
There's a management meeting that's going to try its best to resolve that matter.
I've been through the hospital this morning. The nurses told us last week they weren't going to come if they do not get what they needed for their work. This morning they are not here, but you still have some of the senior nurses on the wards. One of them, I mean, in every ward you have at least one senior nurse there, and then we've been able to put some health assistants in the wards to look after the wards. But of course you go through the wards and then you see that because they are not there, the work is deficient, sort of, yeah.
Wow. So what is the hospital doing to resolve this issue?
Well, we've communicated this to the Mental Health Authority, and they in turn communicated it to the ministry, and we are hoping to hear from them soon. But we are also still in talks with the nurses to, well, for them to compromise a bit and come in.
Now, let's get some response from the Ministry of Health on the matter. Tony Goodman is PRO of the ministry. Now, good afternoon, Tony. Thanks for your time. The ministry and other interested parties in this particular development were in a meeting earlier. Now, have you been able to devise a way forward?
Yes, we are still looking at the issue, as you said, having discussions around it. There are various issues, including this particular medicine we've dealt with. As I speak to you, human resource was also one of it. That has been dealt with. 21 of the workers we needed to work with have been given financial clearance. The other thing, which is the medication, is also being looked at. We hope by close of the day we should see that also being dealt with.
So how soon should we expect the nurses back at work?
That I cannot say. They want to see certain things. We are also doing what we actually have to do to make sure that we come to work to take care of the patients. So we are doing this thing.
So, Tony, what exactly is the problem with the mental health sector? We've heard this in the news over and over again. Why can't we just get it done and over with?
Yes, that is what we are doing. You know, in the past we did.
But Tony, we've been having this in the news. We've spoken to you a couple of times, and that's the same assurance we get. But it looks like nothing is coming through.
Yes, also true. But what actually happened was, you know, it's not as if we don't send money to those psychiatric hospitals. Monies are sent frequently, as you may be aware. 1.5 was sent recently. It tells you that that particular sector is very expensive. If you want to only depend solely on budget, it will be very difficult. There should be some resources dedicated to taking care of psychiatric care in this country. That is where we are now. Currently, as I speak to you, there is good news that we've gotten that source of funding, which is the petroleum revenue we're going to be using. If we have this problem will be but if you have to solely be depending on our budget, we'll use all our money, we'll still be here. Because you and I will only go there and dump our patients and leave them. Those we see there are people who come from various families. They have families living in this country, but we only go dump them and we don't go there again. Government takes care of their feeding, takes care of their care, secondary care, tertiary care, which is very expensive. So that is actually the problem. It's the way we are treating our own relatives we send to that particular home. We don't go there anymore. Government will have to do it. If the man is sick from any other complicated ailment, then has to go through another surgery. It's government who have to do this, no matter how expensive it is. So if you look at it from this angle, you appreciate the work we are doing.
Okay.
But as I said, we'll make sure that this source of funding, which is something that will be lasting, all of us will now go and relax. We will not be complaining about problems in Accra Psychiatric Hospital or any other psychiatric hospital.
All right, Tony. So apart from petroleum revenue, which other avenue are stakeholders looking out for? For a source of.
When you look at the Mental Health Act, it states clearly how money should be raised to take care of that sector, because stakeholders agreed that government alone or dedicated budget line cannot deal with the problem there. What we actually have to do is to get this tax from other sectors. So one, they also look at you and I or institutions supporting that mental health fund. Other tax revenue were also looked at. But I speak to you because the LI is still in its development stage. They are looking at various sources, but this is one of concrete sources they've identified. Others have been looked at.
All right, Tony, so you can confirm to us that at least you're making some headway with your deliberations with the nurses who on strike.
Sure.
All right, thank you very much for your time. That was Tony Goodman, PRO of the Ministry of Health, responding to that strike by nurses at the Accra Psychiatric Hospital. You're watching Joy News today with me, Bernice Abubedi.